Well, it looks like quite a few of us are here. So, in the interest of time, let's get started. We have 30 minutes together today to explore three or four of our new features. So, before we hop in and start that, as always, I'm going to welcome you to join the conversation on social media. The two hashtags that we use for this series are hashtag TEVE and hashtag TE Masterclass. And I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Tila Beischer, and I actually see a typo on this slide, but my name is Tila Beischer, and I am a customer success manager here at Thoughtexchange. So I work with our thought partners to help them to plan and execute exchanges and to really familiarize them with these features too. And there are a lot of resources available online for you as well with information about these new features that I will be sharing with you in an email follow-up. So here's exactly what we are going to talk about today. We're talking about three of our newest features that we've launched really with the aim of easing exchange design and reporting for you. And so those three features are presenter mode, slides, and exchange gallery. We're going to dig a little bit into resources, and then we'll talk to about whatever your questions are. So we'll have a Q&A exchange actually using presenter mode too. We did run an event at the end of June talking about the launch of these features, talking a little bit about the how-to, but I really want to make sure that you are deeply embedded with the why and the when. So why would you want to add this feature into your Exchange workflow, and when would you use it for the best practice? And as per usual with our masterclasses, we are recording today's session and we'll send you a copy afterwards. And then we also have some really amazing videos, tutorials on these features that I'm going to pop into the chat now. So just popping in two links there, and you can feel free to peruse those after the session to refresh yourself on what we talk about today. So let's start talking about presenter mode. And presenter mode, if you haven't used it before, is a live version of an exchange. And I'd love for you to Oh, we have one message in the chat that they are not able to hear audio. Are others able to hear me? Perfect. All right. So Cheryl, it may be that you need to adjust which speakers that you're hearing. It looks like others can hear me perfectly fine. So that's really good. Maybe pop in your headset too. Maybe your earphones will help too. All right. So thinking about presenter mode, I would love for you to use the raise hands feature in Zoom if you've used this feature before. I'm curious how many of you have tried it out or even just played around with it in your account. All right. It looks like about 20% of us have used it before. So this is going to be new for a lot of you, but really what this is a style of exchange that you can use to embed in a live meeting or a live virtual event. It's called presenter mode because you present it. And it's just taking the regular exchange that you've set up, and it has a different interface to make it more user-friendly for people to join the exchange. It's really designed to use with a live audience. And when we first built it, we built it actually for live events. And so this recent update that we did was to make it more virtual event friendly. When you're hosting virtual events, obviously it's enough work to be managing the chat, to be thinking about who can hear you, to be thinking about all of the troubleshooting components. And then running a virtual event with an exchange built into it could be complicated. So our goal was to streamline that and make it as simple as possible. So what we did was update the feature with a few tweaks to make it really virtual event friendly. And I'm going to show you those exactly. But before we hop into it, I wanted to outline exactly how other thought partners are using this. And so I've written 4 examples of places where people use presenter mode. So first is virtual meetings. So maybe that's a staff meeting, maybe that's a meeting if you're in education with parents. It's anywhere where you need to have a meeting with a group of people that normally wouldn't be as interactive or have as much opportunity for two-way communication. So think of something like a town hall, which is quite often sit and get. Your employees or your stakeholders are sitting there and downloading information from you, having an exchange embedded in that event allows them to participate and do things like ask questions, they can cement learnings, etc. You can also use it for agenda setting. And so we're seeing this used a lot right now in the education sector for things like professional development before going back to school. People are running exchanges with their team, asking them, what do you need to have professional development on? And then using that to inform the agenda for their virtual professional development sessions that they're building. And then webinars and virtual events, we're going to use this today for our Q&A, so you can get a sample of what that would look like if you were wanting to run a Q&A at the end of one of your virtual events that you're hosting. So let's hop into the product and I'll show you exactly what this looks like, just so you get a sense of it. And what I'm doing is I am just finding an exchange here that is live. So your exchange needs to be set up and it needs to be live. And then see this present button here? When I click on this, it actually opens up presenter mode. And this is to invite, visualize, and explore the results of an exchange with your audience. So all you do is click on present, and then the controls are on the page. So I click on present here, and this is what you would screen share with your virtual meeting or your virtual event. And so you can see that it has a QR code, so those who want to join via their phone can use their phone to join. It also has instructions to head to tejoin.com and type in a 9-digit code, or you can copy and paste this link here and then paste that into the Zoom chat, the Google Hangouts chat, the Microsoft Teams chat, whichever means or whichever virtual event platform that you're using to host the meeting. You can paste the link in there. You can see participants joining the exchange. And up here, you also have a timer capability. So you can set it for 4 minutes and press play, and that gives people the visual countdown. So it sets that motivation and incentivizes them to participate. If you are running out of time, you can click on this plus icon right here to add more time, or you can reduce the time as well. And again, that's for that visual motivation or incentivization. The other thing that you can do here as well is you can click on this next slide button over here. So just in the bottom right corner, I'm clicking on next slide. And this opens up my view to see what's happening live in the exchange. So you can imagine that if this were an exchange that we are participating in, I would see these thoughts shifting. And for you as a leader running one of these types of exchanges, it's really valuable because it allows you to highlight that an exchange is a conversation. It's a network of rating and sharing thoughts as opposed to just a survey. So if you're running an event with people who haven't participated in an exchange before, that's an opportunity for you to really highlight the power of Thoughtexchange. And then you can also see the thoughts shifting. The other thing that's been added in here too is you can actually use your keyboard to control the views. So the next one here, I could click on this arrow in the bottom right, or I could use my over arrow on my keyboard. And then I see the discover view. And this is where I could highlight the top thoughts. So imagine that we ran this as an end to a webinar. This is actually an exchange from the end of a webinar where we taught people how to set up exchanges. What I would then do is talk through what are the top thoughts. And you can double click on the thought and highlight it there. So you can really see the power of using it in your virtual event and notice that everything was happening on the one screen. It makes it easier for you and simpler to run. So you could imagine that just like what I did today, you could have your presentation open here and then just a secondary tab with your presenter mode open. That way you're not even having to switch which window that you're screen sharing to. It makes it really simple for you. So those are the changes to presenter mode. Really focused on enriching your virtual meetings and your virtual events. And then the other feature that we launched, I'm so excited about this, is the Exchange Gallery. And for those of you on the call today, I'm going to get you to use the raise hands feature again if you've dug into the Exchange Gallery at all. I'm curious. All right, it looks like one of us has dug into it. So for the rest of you, this is going to be your first introduction. What the Exchange Gallery is a content library that we've created of proven exchange ideas. It has a really wide variety of resources, all tied to different topics, that includes exchange templates, has video tutorials, it has help articles. And so it's really useful for two types of leaders. One, for new leaders who are looking to find new exchange ideas. I know that I work as a customer success manager, and so the biggest challenge in my role is helping take a topic and turn it into an exchange. So how do we know that the question is going to work? How do we know that the survey questions that we're asking are really going to get us the information that we need? How do we know that this is in line with what other districts are doing, what other organizations are doing? This kind of solves that for that new leader and builds a bit of confidence in them so that their exchange design is really set up with these tried and true, these proven exchanges too. And then it's also really useful for those of you on the call who are more experienced with Thoughtexchange. And maybe you're looking at those really big picture issues, those hard, those difficult conversations, and you want to make sure that you're working in alignment with your goals and with your strategic values. And this is going to allow you to do that. And so what the feature is in the Thoughtexchange app itself, you can actually click on Create Exchange from Exchange Gallery, and it's separated by education and by corporate. And so today, because my account is set up as a corporate account, we're actually going to dig into the corporate examples, but education leaders, you will all have access to this already, so you can explore this in your own accounts. So here I am in my Thoughtexchange account. And if I were to click on this kind of hamburger menu in the top left, I can click on Exchange Gallery, and that will land me in the Exchange Gallery. I can also see it when I click on Create. I click on From Exchange Gallery, and that opens it up. So see here that it's sorted into topics. So we have our anti-racism related exchange topics. We have COVID-19 ones. We have meeting ones. We're going to use this to set up our Q&A exchange at the end of our time together today. We have events one here. And what you can do, maybe right now you're working on thinking about the return to work. You can click on this Explore and then see all of these templates that we've created from successful exchanges within the topic. So maybe what we need to know are what are the most important things we need to think about as we plan for reopening our office spaces. Maybe we want to know what's possible now that you didn't think was possible before we started working remotely. And if I was thinking that this really aligns with my strategic value of thinking about efficiencies and pulling them through, maybe that's the objective or the reason why I'm running the exchange, and I know that I want to run this one, I can click on Create Exchange, and it automatically creates it, sets it up, and I can copy the link and then send it out to welcome people in. So that's really fast and easy. As always, you can edit it. So if I wanted to go in and add more context to the introduction, I could do that. And I would encourage you to do that. Remember that the introduction is your opportunity to add more of a why and to personalize the exchange. So spend a little bit of time doing that. Really, the real value of this feature and for you using this feature is that it makes the exchange design process really quick and easy. It's already simple to just copy paste from templates that we used to host on our help site, but now these are embedded into the product. And because there is still that time that's needed around building strategy, around thinking about your why and building your organizational outcomes, and what are your objectives, it allows you to spend more time getting strategic with your engagement strategy and less time with your exchange design. So I'm going to encourage all of you to spend a little bit of time after you get off this call, hop into your Thoughtexchange account and really look through that exchange gallery, the different topics, the different ideas, and maybe build that into your workflow when you are running exchanges. You could think about it before. It used to be that you might surf through our site, look for different exchanges. Maybe you're reaching out to your network, asking them how they're engaging about it, or even working with your CSM and your account manager. I would recommend start here. Start in the exchange gallery and think about what you see and use that to inform your planning meetings that you have. Use it to inform the exchange design and the engagement strategy. The other thing that you're going to find is that This is still in beta. We just launched this at the end of June, and so every topic that you could imagine isn't there yet. And so what we're hoping for from you, especially those of you on this call who are really interested in this feature, are your ideas of what topics could be really valuable to you. So let us know. You can let your CSM know or your account manager know, and we'll make sure that those get built into the gallery for you and for other thought partners too. Right, so the next feature that we're going to talk about is slides. Perfect. And slides are essentially presentations that are built into your Discover dashboard. They are living in TE Labs right now, which is our exploratory tool. And I'm going to have you use the raise hand feature one more time. How many of you give presentations on your results? So you run an exchange and then you have to give the presentation on the results, or even support team members on giving presentations. And not surprisingly, almost everyone on the call has to do this task. It makes sense. As an exchange leader, you're accountable for really sharing those results back and making sure that they are made into action. And so step one of that often is presenting to your leadership team or presenting to your team that supported you in getting the exchange up and running. And so what we did was we knew that there were two ways that people were managing these presentations. Either they were screen sharing their Discover dashboard and talking through what they saw, or they were building PowerPoints with screen grabs from the Discover dashboard. So what we wanted to do was to actually create a feature that is that PowerPoint that you can share so that you don't have to be grabbing screen grabs, be pulling things off. Now it lives in the product for you. So I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So let's open up one of our sample exchanges here. I'm going to open up this one here. What are some conversations you need to crowdsource? Again, this was from one of our training workshops. I click on Discover Dashboard. Should all be familiar with this. If you're not, we do have some wonderful masterclasses and resources to teach you more about the Discover Dashboard. But this feature down here at the bottom, this little beaker icon, this is our TE Labs or Thoughtexchange Labs. And what Labs is a really highly experimental area where our team is testing out new features. The benefit of something living here is that it's updating all the time. So you're going to see new versions of it, you're going to see small design tweaks, etc. And it means that it's your opportunity to be adding feedback into what you want from the product. And so there's some really cool features here. There's things like a cross-survey analysis. You can dig really deep into your survey questions, but slides is what we're talking about right now. We're just going to wait for it to load. What it does is it generates a slideshow that includes the title of the exchange. So we can see the exchange summary and then what was the question. I can see participation breakdown. And then it shows me any survey questions that I asked. I can see a word cloud. I can see the very top 3 thoughts in the exchange, the top 3 themes, and it uses the AI generated themes. So remember, there's that algorithm that themes your exchanges for you automatically. And then it digs into those top thoughts by themes as well. And then it gives you just a wrap up. So a thank you for participating and a little statement that says we'll be carefully considering what we learned and sharing our actions back with you. And you can click on this present and it puts it into full screen. And then you can just use your keys to navigate. So this is exciting because it means that you're not making PowerPoints offline now. You essentially have it created for you. There's a few details to remember with this being in AI or in beta right now. And the first is that you can't edit this. It exists as it is and you can talk through it, and you can't actually download it right now. And so we're working on making those changes for a future release. So you'll see lots of changes and improvements to this being made. It's going to be a big focus for us. And thinking about how you would implement this into your workflow, this style of presentation is really useful for a high-level overview of an exchange. So if you're running an exchange where your objective is to get a high-level understanding of what happened, you want to quickly know about participation, quickly know about themes, this can be a really good place to start. And so you could actually look through here at the start of your own workflow too when you're thinking about working with results. And again, with the feedback request is that we're going to change this based on your questions and based on what you're hoping for. So give that information to your CSM or your AM, and they will make sure to pass it on to our product team. So those are the three big features that we were going to talk about today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually use our Exchange gallery to set up the exchange that we are going to run on presenter mode. So I'm looking at events, I'm looking at presentations, and I'm going to ask you what thoughts and questions do you have for us. So I'll click on Create Exchange and grab the link and paste it into the chat for those of you that want to participate via the link. Click on Present, and then we're going to use presenter mode for whatever questions that you have about these three features. So please hop into the exchange now. We have 8 minutes left, so we'll spend 4 minutes. I'll click play on the timer, asking our questions, and then 4 minutes going through them. And as always, we'll send a leader report afterwards too. And if you've hosted one of these, I'm going to mute myself, which can be the hardest thing to do when hosting a virtual meeting, to allow you the space to have this conversation. All right, and let's start talking about these thoughts that came up and what you rated was important. So the first one here is any idea when the presentation feature will move out of beta? Being able to edit and download will be important. I agree with you. I don't have a clear timeline, but I do know that this is a really important priority for the product team as they work on this feature. So based on the priority of this also being the top thought in our exchange, I can share that back with them too. And I do see another thought too as well. Any ideas on the timing of edit and download of slides being available? Very excited about this feature, but can't use much of it until these features are enabled. I will always need to edit and download. Yes, I'm going to bring those two thoughts to the product team as well, just to show the urgency and the demand for it too. The second top thought here is really interesting. What problems can we anticipate in using these new features, and what are common issues? It's a great question, and the one that I could think of for the Exchange Gallery that we've been talking a lot about internally is being cautious to still ensure that you are fleshing out or building out your engagement strategy and not leaning too heavily on the just launch this very quickly. If you think about, for example, we had some of those return to school or anti-racism exchanges built into that. And those are really hot topic exchange topics and engagement issues right now that need to be managed really mindfully. And so making sure that as you're setting up your strategy, that you're still thinking about what is my communications plan based around this issue? What do I need to tailor? What is my moderation strategy based around this issue? What do I need to consider? Who do I need to fold in? And then also based on how I need to understand the results, how do I need to customize that template? So do I need to add in survey questions? Do I need to think about participant groups? Using them, the templates, and using the Exchange Gallery as a starting point, but always understanding that there may be need to customize and to think about objectives more broadly. The other one that I could think about too, what problems can we anticipate in using these new features? What are common issues? I'm really interested to hear from you about any problems that you might bump into. And that's really what we're here for. So any feedback or concerns that you have about these new features, let us know. Keep us really close. We do want to drive the product and drive these changes for how you're going to be using them, because you're the ones ultimately making the best use of them. So keep us in the loop on that. I was someone who pulled screen images and put them into a PowerPoint. Great that I don't need to do that now, way more efficient. Yes, I was one of those people too, so I'm excited I've already started implementing it. Thank you. And then we have this last one here. How do you see this integrating with social media tools for something like a closed Facebook community? This would help manage and focus discussions in a platform people are already in, but could power some deep engagement. Or is that even possible? Absolutely. And so I guess that would depend a lot on what your involvement is with that closed community. Do you have the ability to get access to it, to share an exchange link, or do you have someone in the community who's willing to do so? The real benefit of using an exchange versus using something like a social media community or a forum is that rating functionality. Those forums tend to really emphasize the loud voices. It's who said this loudest, and they also use the influencer effect too, because whoever is most well known, people tend to agree with that priority. So, getting something like an exchange in that group will actually allow you to really level the playing field, remove that influencer effect, and to actually remove any of the bias that comes from knowing who's sharing thoughts and to emphasize crowd. So, I would recommend thinking really strategically about how can you get an exchange in there, and then how can you design it to be as successful as possible. And if you're working with some of those hot topic issues, I recommend leaning on your customer success manager to help guide you through some really mindful planning of that exchange. So thank you. Thanks to all of you who stuck around. I know we're going to run about a minute over, but I hope that learning about these 3 features was really useful to you today. I'm just going to pop the link into the chat of the help article that goes over all 3. There's a video tutorial for each different feature in that article. And then I want to invite you to 2 events that we're hosting this week. So the first is tomorrow morning, and it is about getting it wrong. It's titled. And so it's about how we as leaders can make mistakes and how can we learn from them. Going to be hosting it, or a couple Thoughtexchange people will be hosting that. I think it'll be really interesting. And then the other one is specifically for our leaders in education. So if you're an education thought partner on the call, hello, and please join us on Wednesday morning. We're having one of our V Connects, which if you have not yet attended, is an opportunity to actually do breakout groups and to participate in the event. And we are talking about building anti-racist policies. And so that one's going to be really interesting. We have 2 guest speakers, 2 superintendents who are going to join us about how can we lead through this difficult time and use our leadership to inspire all of our stakeholders as well. So hoping to see you at those 2 events. And thank you again for joining today. I hope that you explore the new features and let us know once you do. Thanks.